Hey, Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. So tell us who you are, what you do.
My name is Bob Afsari. I'm the CEO and founder of Campaign Creators. Campaign Creators is a HubSpot partner specifically. We're a full service digital marketing agency and technology company focused on helping our clients onboard and optimize their HubSpot environments. Over the years, we now have a partnership with Shopify as well as Klaviyo. But I would say that 95% of all of our clients are utilizing HubSpot in one capacity or another. And that's really where we've kind of nestled ourselves in from an agency services perspective.
Awesome. Are you an accidental agency owner? How'd you wind up starting an agency?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally accidental. Went to school for something totally different.
What'd you go to school for?
I got my degree in neurobiology, physiology, behavioral science. I spent 5 years in a molecular biology lab doing signal transduction research. If that makes any sense to anyone. Published a paper, was looking at going down the medical school route. Have a father, brother, and sister that are all doctors. So that's like the family business. And decided to take a little bit of a hiatus, moved from Northern California down to San Diego for like a quick 6-month reprieve. And then 14, 15 years later, actually, almost 20 years later. Yeah, 20 years later, still down here and made a hard left-hand turn and found myself opening up an agency back in 2011. And from there, I've just been trying to figure out, where the wind is taking us.
What's been the biggest surprise looking back at where you started to where you're at now?
Oh, just the onset and evolution of technology and the requirements from a technological standpoint to even do anything marketing. I think what's really interesting is if you go back and take a look, I oftentimes talk about how like the impetus of our company really started when we wanted to identify how we can try to send the right information to the right person at the right time, because it's all about communication. And it's kind of fascinating because back then we were pretty much technologically like incapable of doing a whole lot as individuals and even as an agency. Like we did a lot of graphic design, a lot of business planning. And I think what's fascinating is as we watched what happened over the 2010s, you had something like 10,000 different point solutions evolve and grow and get published into the marketplace to allow businesses to do different things online, which was awesome. But I think the consequence of that for a lot of companies that adopted these different point solutions is fragmented data. And then fragmented data has a whole downstream impact of negative stuff like inability to have accurate reporting. You have different departments that are siloed. You can't segment your data. Having personalized conversations digitally just becomes like, quite frankly, impossible. And so today, in order for us to do anything that we do as an agency for our clients, we have to be neck deep in the technology. We have to understand the tech stack. We have to understand where all the bodies are buried. We want to make sure from like a systems architecture standpoint that data is flowing accordingly and that we're allowing to like thin out the tech stack, centralize data, segment that data, and then really empower our clients to be able to like deploy some type of, communication program. Whereas 11, 12 years ago, any of the vernacular words I'm using today didn't even exist. So it's been a really interesting evolutionary shift in the digital marketing world.
How has your offering changed? I know you used to charge a retainer and you've gone to more of a productized service model. So how has that changed and why did you go that route?
Yeah, it's a good question. Oh man, I think as an agency, there's so many different things that we can provide because digital marketing in and of itself is just very vast. And then when we have individuals come together, a lot of companies are looking for like a one-stop solution for a lot of things, or at least they think that that's their best interest. And back in the day when we started, there was a variety of different offerings and we meet with our prospects and understand what their needs were. And then we would put together some type of like consulting or retainer based package to say, okay, over the course of the next 12 months, we identify based on your economic threshold and what you want to invest in the marketing. We can allocate X number of hours per month to be able to accomplish the following, and you roll forward from there. And what's interesting is as you get to a certain stage, you start to realize that as you're bringing on more clients, and just because you're growing from like a revenue standpoint doesn't necessarily mean that your profitability is going up. And it kind of forces you to hire more. And so there's this interesting battle between like obtaining clients as well as trying to grow your workforce to be able to handle the clients that you're getting. And the system just kept breaking, like from a profitability and being able to really like provide work-live life balance for our team. And it just wasn't fun. And quite honestly, as an individual myself, I don't like hiring anyone on a retainer. Because when we think about it, someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm going to provide you with this." And you're like, "Well, how much is it going to cost?" And they're like, "Well, we'll figure it out as we go. But if we need more money, we'll let you know. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take. There's some black holes in here we have to figure out." And so the ambiguity with hourly retaining was always pretty nuanced. And it was interesting because I had a mentor that really challenged me in like 2018 and 2019. He said, "Would you hire your agency with your own company?" And describing different types of companies that, let's say, I would try to come and hire my own agency at. And as an owner, of course, the first thing you want to say is, "Yeah, of course, I would hire my own agency." But then when you start to look at the model by which we provide our services, the answer is like, "No, I actually wouldn't hire my agency because it breaks here, 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 and here." Right. And it doesn't make any sense. And a lot of times, these hourly retainer models, they're good for the agency, but they're not necessarily great for the clients that you're engaging with. And it also creates a pretty reactive relationship because oftentimes you find yourself with hours left over. And sometimes companies and clients you're working with say, "Hey, we have 15 hours left over. Can we roll them over to the next month?" And it causes problems from an operational standpoint. So there's a litany of things that I think are problematic with hourly retainers. So what we ended up doing, and we started this kind of like slowly, was we started to identify the different services that we provide. And we said, is there a way to make intangible marketing services tangible? How do we productize what we do? And how do we make sure that there is a crystal clear offering so that if we go and sell something like, we're going to sell you this, right? Uh, the client on the other side almost has a scorecard that they can check off to say, "Yes, I have now tangibly received that deliverable," or "I'm not finding myself being like forced into a minimum hourly monthly retainer." If anything, if you think about productizing your services, you empower your clients to be able to utilize your agency in the manner by which they want to utilize an agency. Some companies want to crawl, walk, run. Some companies want a whole bunch of stuff all at once. And when you productize, you don't have to have these minimums. What you do have is this menu of services that you can provide, and they can utilize you in an a la carte fashion. Or they can say, "Hey, we need a whole bunch of things like this. Let's put it together in a project and let's really scope out the next 6 to 12 months." But what's fascinating about it is now you remove all the ambiguity from a deliverable standpoint. The relationship is a lot healthier. Everybody knows exactly what's supposed to be delivered. And then when you create your process sheets for your own team, being able to deploy these services in the forms of products where you have a step by step guide to help your team deliver these things increases satisfaction in the workplace, increases confidence in deliverables, increases speed to market for these different services, and increases profitability because it becomes somewhat repetitious. And all these products can be customized in a bespoke fashion. So I know it's a kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but there's a lot of things involved in the benefits of what we believed productization could provide us. And we're still on this journey, but so far it's seemingly working out.
The phase that we went through and a phase a lot of agency owners go through is at first you charge per project. And then what happens is you get eaten alive because you don't understand how to manage scope creep or client expectations, or you scoped it wrong. And so then you go to yourself and go, "Well, I'm going to go to hourly so I don't lose money." And you don't lose money with hourly. But just like what you said, what happens too is as you get more efficient and you gain the wisdom and you start losing profit, because now what used to take you 100 hours takes you 10 hours. So now you have to charge 10 hours for that. That doesn't seem fair versus like it took me 20 years to get to this level that I can do it in 10. And so then once you start realizing that, you start going, "Well, how do I change to value-based pricing?" Of kind of like what it sounds like you guys have. And what we did too is we productized it internally. So the question I'm going to ask you is like, did you productize it internally or also externally as well to the client? So then they had a menu of items to choose from.
Both. We actually have all of our marketing material, sales collateral, everything on our website. We have PowerPoint decks. We have one pagers that literally spell out the exact deliverables of what a particular product is, what the purpose of that service or product is geared for, whether it's an SEO product or it's a lead gen or a lead nurturing or conversion optimization. We even productized our website design and development approach so that we have a variety of different building blocks where we have like our minimum viable product. And then that has a starting point and it has a very specific deliverable that, we adhere to. And then based on the requirements of the company, migration requirements, if they need customization, if they need more unique number of template pages or whatever it might be, we then slot them in and add them in. And when they get their proposal, they can see every single line item that they're going to be delivered. There's an exact price associated with each line item. And then together, from agency to client, we work together to prune or to add. And now once they see the end proposal, they go, okay, this is surgically exactly what we need. And everyone's happy and we move forward, and that there's zero ambiguity to the deliverable because it's been scrutinized so heavily on the front end. And a lot of times, as a business owner, and I'm actively involved in our selling process, a lot of times we're racing toward a close. How do we get to a close? How do we help generate revenue? And I think we got to the point now where it was it's definitely more important to make sure that the details and the nuances of the deliverable are fully understood, even if it's not what the client's looking for. It's like, hey, look, this is the reality of it. And if everyone subscribes to the reality of what it is we're providing, you create a really strong partnership with your clients that become long lasting.
We did the exact same thing. That's why we closed at over 85% because we were so descriptive. But the thing that I think a lot of people run into that do it wrong is they don't ask the right questions to the client or the prospect. And then they put it back on the prospect to choose all the options versus the agency going, based on what you told me, Bob, here's exactly what you need. This is the solution. Here's all the deliverables. Here's the package. Do you have any questions? And then you can modify from there, because what I always hated, and I still hate this to today, like my friends and family, when we go to a restaurant, like a cheesecake factory, I don't go to
Too many options, right?
so many fucking options. I get so overwhelmed. Like if I go to like a diner and I'm just like, oh my God, like there's 4 pages that I have to go through.
Yeah.
I'm literally like, my hands are starting to sweat just thinking about it, because I'm like, I want 1 page. Like, do I want steak, chicken, fish? What do I want?
You're paralyzed. You're essentially paralyzed with options, right?
Exactly. And especially too, like a good waitress or a good consultant on the agency would say, well, tell me more about what your problem is, and then I'll tell you what you should actually get. And I'll present that to you in that way. And that's what I've always found works. And like you said too, with the team, right? It's so easy for the team. They get so much more efficient. The SOPs line up perfect. There's barely any scope creep if your team manages it right. Your clients are always going to ask for stuff outside of what's included, but they're not trying to do it to take advantage of you for the most part. They're just ignorant. Like you haven't educated them on the process yet.
I mean, it's precisely right. I mean, we don't have a perfect formula because there's always little nuances that happens with client requests and customer requests based on the products we deliver. And we're constantly rolling out new products to be able to help fit within the wheelhouse of services that we provide. And so it's a constant learning process for our team. And I think as our team, and I think the great thing about our team is that turnover is really low, which is awesome, because the longer a team stays together, the better you kind of flock like a group of birds. Like you're going to be able to learn and really understand how to deliver these things. And I think that's also been very helpful because this core team has been together for quite some time, and the individuals that are with us stay with us. And we're learning together, we're optimizing together, and we're also learning to say no together. And I think that's also something that was really hard for me when we first started our agency, was saying no to like what you're not good at. And it's difficult. It is impossible to say no, especially when you're first starting out. You wanted your walls painted back in 2011. I might as well have just done it, and said, sure, we'll do it for revenue. But I think when you get to a point of really figuring out what you're good at and having your processes lined, and you can value sell what you do to be able to drive that, profitability, saying no actually makes you money in the end.
Are you looking for a strategic, reliable white label partner to scale your agency business? E2M is the #1 white label partner for digital agencies when it comes to web design, web development, e-commerce, SEO, and content writing. Now, E2M is a trusted partner by over 150 agency partners, and they've been providing white label services to agencies for over a decade with a team of 170 plus experts. E2M is on a mission to help 500 plus agency owners increase their revenue and profit margins with impactful white label services. Check out their transparent and flexible white label pricing model at e2msolutions.com/smartagency. E2M is currently running a special discount for 10% off for the first 3 months, available for a limited time. So go check them out right now.
I always think in the beginning, it's like a Vegas buffet. You got to try out everything and see what you like. Like you said, it's impossible to say no in the very beginning because you haven't tried it yet. And you should always be trying new things. But then you get to a point where you got to ask yourself a question, or really kind of two questions of like, if I was going to do a particular service offering and I was only going to be paid after they got amazing success, who would I do it for and what would I do for them? And that's the answer. If you're thinking of on like a 3 circles and these 3 circles interact and you think about what am I passionate in? What do I have skills in? And what can I provide the most value in? That is your sweet spot because you can have passion and skills in something, but if the clients don't get the value, you're screwed. But you have to have all 3. And when those things intersect, that's the secret sauce. That's kind of your flow in your agency. And then you just trying to constantly build on that. Like I was in the mastermind for the agency owners today. I went to them, I said, how clear is your offering to your prospect after they engage with you about the next step? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, how many of you are thinking about when you bring on a new client, can I actually grow this account? And if the answer is no, why the hell are you bringing that account on? The opportunity cost is going to be huge. Like you can get clients all day long, but if you can't constantly grow them, that's a big issue. And when you productize this, it makes it very easy, especially if you start like, have you guys got to the point where you're like have really cool branding for some of the services and what you guys do?
We're getting there. We've been so nose down focused on figuring out this like internal algorithm, right? And I think one of the things that we kind of put on the shelf was any type of internal marketing or brand evolution over the last 4 to 5 years. It really just been because in the HubSpot world, when we started to really begin to productize and figure out like how do we nestle ourselves into the HubSpot ecosystem and become a top tier partner, we really had to re-engineer our company from the inside out. And it took a tremendous amount of effort and focus for us to do that. I think we finally got to a point now where we kind of like took a look around and we're like, oh shit, we're like the cobbler's son that doesn't have shoes when it comes to branding or internal marketing. And we put a very strong initiative beginning of this year where we're starting to actually do all of that. And now it's time to put the pretty ribbon and bow around what we have because what we have is authentic. It's legit. Like it's finally something you can sink your teeth into. It's tried. It's true. It's tested. We're implementing it hundreds and hundreds of times with success. And now it's like, okay, how do we get the world to like look at our shiny ball for a second and they can go into like our educational process to understand if this is the appropriate offering for them.
Yeah.
So we're literally in the middle of that right now.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be a game changer for you because as soon as your clients and prospects can kind of first milestone, here's the second, here's the third, and they understand the next progression, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm ready for the, going from seedling to a sap, if you're going after like landscapers and that kind of stuff. Another thing I want to ask you about too, one of the things that we used to grow our first agency was through strategic partnerships. We looked for technology that was up and coming that we still could leverage that wasn't crowded. So we were lucky enough to start when, Microsoft was getting big on the web and Sitefinity for CMS and doing that kind of stuff. But I also worried about, and this happened, like Sitefinity kind of started going down. We were just lucky enough to sell right when they started kind of going down. They were a really cool CMS. What are your thoughts around that for strategic partners you guys have? I know you said HubSpot's a big majority of it. And I think you said Spotify or Shopify.
Shopify. Yeah.
Shopify. Yeah. Dyslexia is kicking in. So how have you grown those partnerships?
I think I can focus and hone in on the HubSpot partnership. I'll tell you the story. So when you buy a HubSpot license, the professional or enterprise version, you have to go through a mandatory onboarding process. HubSpot mandates it. And so let's say you're a customer or a prospect of a HubSpot rep and you purchase the license from that rep and the rep goes, okay, you're buying Marketing Hub Pro, onboarding is $3,000. And they add that to your quote, you got to pay it. And now what ends up happening is you get assigned a HubSpot like internal representative that's going to meet with you. And what's great about the HubSpot onboarding is that you have 90 days to work with that rep, but they're going to go through the technical onboarding process with you. It's really the things that you do like the very first time to get a software connected to a business. It's like some of it's like borderline IT work, right? So imagine this. You buy this new piece of software, you don't really know how to drive it. You're not really an IT person, you're in the marketing world, or you're a single owner of a business. And they go, give us $3,000. And then you're going to meet with this person. And over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes you, we're going to walk you through the process so that you can set up your HubSpot. And as you can imagine, that became a big problem for a lot of companies. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are we paying for this technical onboarding? We don't know how to do it. We want someone to come in and do it for us. And why are we paying for the license and taking upwards of 90 days to figure out how to turn this engine on? So there was a really big gap in the marketplace back in 2021. There was an opportunity to come in and productize the onboarding experience. And so what we ended up doing was we identified what was the minimum technical requirement that everybody needed, whether you're a one-person company, 1,000-person company, direct to consumer, B2B, for-profit, nonprofit. It's the minimum technical requirement that everybody needed for each of the hubs and each of the licenses. And we made it crystal clear as to what we're providing. And we're like, hey, we're going to white glove this for you. Forget the DIY. We're going to do this in 20 working days, not 90 days. We're going to do everything that HubSpot would tell you to do, plus some more things that we know you need to do to unlock the full utilization of the hub. And to make it a no-brainer, we're just going to do it for 20% cheaper. There should be no reason why when you go to buy HubSpot, you shouldn't be using campaign creators to onboard you, because quite frankly, we do it better, faster, and it's a more value-driven process. That was our initial offering. And what it ended up doing was providing a ton of value to new HubSpot licensees. But if you think about what we ended up doing was we weaponized the HubSpot sales rep, because a lot of the issues that the HubSpot sales reps were having were, hey, look, we're selling this product and then our client's churning in 3 to 4 months and they're getting clawbacks on their commissions because they're not appropriately onboarded and they're getting frustrated. And they have to discount their software because all of a sudden they have to provide an additional fee for onboarding. So when we came in with our productized onboard offering, it kind of changed the game. Plus, we also made sure that we co-sold and we entered into that arena going, the only real goal that we have is to help the HubSpot rep sell the license. It's going to be up to our agency and to me post-close, after the really easy onboarding process, to second, third, fourth trade our clients into other client service related things, just like what you're talking about. The crawl, walk, run, here's our offering here. Now let's really talk about what we can do to optimize the environment, grow your communication program. And it really started to catch on. We helped a lot of reps. We now work with probably over 200 different HubSpot reps. We're one of the most active onboarding agencies globally out of their 6,300 partners. I think we've co-sold, I was looking at the numbers just in the last 2 years alone, something like $12 or $13 million in HubSpot ARR, a license, just on the side with helping these reps close deals. And it's great because a lot of them go to President's Club or Make Founders Club and they're seeing a lot of success and we're shortening the sales cycle. So we bring a lot of value right up front to HubSpot and we specialize in this. And that's what's allowed us to really now start to expand the relationship moving forward. That is our entry level pipeline.
We did a very similar thing with Microsoft and Sitefinity, but we started out like doing and showing what people could do with their software and how we could customize it in order to make it work for their business, whether because we worked with Microsoft Dynamics and SharePoint and that kind of stuff back in the day when those things were big. I don't even know if it's around anymore, but we started sharing stories with Microsoft reps and the Sitefinity reps. And just like you said, they were like, man, this agency is making us look like heroes. And then they just started providing us tons. And all the other partners that they had, they were like, what the hell's going on? Like they just didn't realize that there's a partner that's actually helping the sales rep or helping that company look better versus once you give me more leads. Like I went through your stupid training program. Like,
Jason, what you're saying right there is, I think, so important. Let's cut all the bullshit out. Going and being a value add to that sales rep is why you guys got the leads you got.
Yep.
Not, hey, sales rep, go give me a lead because I'm part of this program and I deserve these leads. What value are you bringing to the ecosystem and to individuals to be able to help them and their mission to close more opportunities, to help put more food on their table? And once you become that back end kind of like machine for them and it's proven and you build that trust and you go and you close millions of dollars worth of licenses with these guys, you become a trusted entity where they're like, why would we not work with you?
yeah, it's an unfair advantage that you created, but we took the time to make those deposits before we stole from the bank.
Oh, we bled tears, man. Going through that process is not easy, right? You make a lot of sacrifice. You have to like really hone in and provide the value and the opportunity there. It's taken years and years and years to develop this.
Yeah. Well, it's patience and persistence. That's what I tell everybody. When I always laugh when I see some of the Facebook ads about scaling your agency, like from the 200,000 in revenue in 5 days, use my program. I'm like, dude, what people don't realize is it takes a long time. Like it takes a lot of things that have to line up and you're going to screw up a ton of things. You just want to condense that down a little bit. And doing it in 5 days is not possible.
Right. Exactly.
Well, this has all been amazing, Bob. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
I think for me, in summary, to kind of tie it all together, productization of your services is great. What it does is it allows individuals to pick and choose what they need from you. And that provides a whole lot of value, right? And it also enables us to work in like an a la carte fashion almost. But there are perils in an a la carte world, whereas there are benefits to the retainer world. The retainer world is you have long-term forecastable, consistent revenue. In the a la carte productization world, you're constantly hunting and you're constantly on your toes to like get more opportunity and to make sure that the selling process is alive for all of your clients at all points in time. So one of the things that we did and we launched after probably being asked 100 times, and we finally decided to like invent this for ourselves, is we evolved the retainer model. And rather than doing an hourly retainer model, now that we have probably 200 different products or what I call SKUs of marketing services in our product library, we built an algorithm and we provide a productized version of monthly retainer, where every single product has a specific credit value associated with a different currency per se. And based upon the retainer or monthly amount that the client is looking to invest or spend, we have a customized menu, because instead of giving them 200 different things to choose from, based on a series of evaluations and discussions that we go through, we build a customized menu for them. And then now what they're doing is picking and choosing the products they need on a monthly basis. And what it does is eradicate all the issues with hours, excess hours, limited hours, rollover hours. You don't have to time track with your team anymore. It's all value driven. So the productized retainer model that we rolled out about 3 to 4 months ago has been a big game changer for us, because now we have the opportunity to benefit from giving those clients that want the a la carte model, they can pick and choose what they need when they need it. And for those companies that want the consistent leverage and support of us as an adjunct part of their marketing department, we can provide that as well. So I think that's exciting for us. And I think that's one of the things that can be of benefit when you go down that path.
Yeah, I like that. We did that and we added one layer, and this one layer may help you make a lot more profit as well. So 50% was like that, productized. The other 50% was for strategy, because I didn't want people just to be buying execution from us. I wanted them to be buying strategy. And the great thing about strategy is there's no hours tied to it. So they're never asking, did you use all my stuff or all that? So like they still had the productized deliverables, but there was all, and that was profitable too. Some were more profitable than others. Some are kind of like just break even, but the others are like,
Yeah.
yes, stick it to them because the value's there. But then the strategy was something that no one ever questioned. I'd be like, and you can get rid of it if you want. I'm like, really? You just want us to execute? Maybe our relationship's not the right one for you. If you don't want to look at us to come to solve your biggest problem, you just came here. You just want an order taker. Maybe you want to go here. 99% of the time when we would say that, people are like, that makes total sense. We put a lot of strategy. Like what we found is we were giving away so much strategy that it was just completely crazy.
So we've got a variety of different strategy products that we provide as
The
well.
strategy's already built on top of that.
It's built on top, and it's actually added in as a potential product depending on what they're looking for. But the great part about what you're talking about is that the strategy component actually acts as another vehicle to sell your services, because you're going to come up with a variety of things they should be doing that just tees you up for the future.
It's a card that you can play to be like, well, no one else is. Why are you questioning the strategy? Like, no one else you're talking to going to do strategy? And you're like, that's a way to do it. Then I kind of laugh, and they'd be like, that makes sense. I'm like, no shit, it makes sense. Well, this has been a blast, Bob. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Everyone go say hello to Bob and check out their website and what they do. And if you guys enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more cool interviews like this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out all the other resources we have. We've been doing this a decade, so we have tons of resources for you to scale your agency. And until next time, have a swank day.